Welcome back to Decision 2018 on KWN-TV. I'm Chris Goforth. We're glad to have you with us. We're at the Dade County Public Library for our candidate forum. We move on and we get ready to welcome in the candidates for judgeship in the Superior Court of the Lookout Mountain Judicial Circuit. They are Raph Van Pelt, the incumbent, and Melissa Hise. This is a non-partisan position. Thanks to both of you for being here. We'll give each candidate now 2 minutes to make some opening comments, and we'll begin with Judge Van Pelt.
Good evening. Appreciate being here. I was born in Somerville, grew up in Chattanooga County, a rural part of Chattanooga County. My father was a mechanic. He was a small businessman, ran his own garage in Somerville. My mother was a housewife. She stayed home with me, gardened, did the animals, did the house, did all the things that housewives do. I am the father of 2 children. I'm proud to say that I have 2 kids, Nick and Kathleen. My son Nick went into the Air Force straight out of high school. My daughter Kathleen is a lawyer here in this circuit. My son is now in the North Dakota Air Guard. He is a deputy sheriff in Minot, North Dakota, and is a weekender. My daughter is a special assistant attorney general. I'm proud to say that both my children chose jobs that involve protecting the public. I am here tonight to tell you a little bit about myself. I was an assistant district attorney. I've been in private practice. I was elected your district attorney in 1988, and then I was appointed to this job in 1996. I'm here tonight asking for your vote to continue to be your Superior Court judge.
Mrs. Hise.
My name is Melissa Hise, and I am a lifelong resident of Walker County. I grew up in Chattanooga Valley in High Point. My mother's here tonight, and she was born and raised at New Salem. I have deep roots here in Dade County, and a lot of family, as you all probably have seen, and around the county helping me campaign. Grew up, like I said, in Walker County. I went to Mercer University, got my undergraduate degree, got my law degree at Cumberland School of Law at Sanford in Birmingham. I came back home and went into private practice with Watson and Dana. And then I worked as a Superior Court clerk under Superior Court clerk judges prior to Judge Van Pelt's tenure on the bench. I then started a nonprofit agency called 4 Points that served the 4 counties and doing services that are ancillary to the criminal justice system. We worked with families in crisis, domestic violence families. After leaving 4 Points after 15 years, when I found that it was time for me to move on and let somebody else take that over, I went full-time in the magistrate court. From there, I went back into private practice with Palmer Law Firm down in Somerville, and that's where I am now. I still remain an associate magistrate judge for Walker County, but that's a little bit about me.
Welcome to each of you. Judge, we'll begin with you. 2 minutes. Can you give us an overview of what you feel a Superior Court judge's responsibilities are?
Well, we do a lot of things. Here in Dade County, we do anything that takes a jury trial. We don't have a state court here, so we do anything that anybody wants a jury trial on. Superior Court's responsible for felony criminal cases. We handle those throughout the circuit. We do basically domestic relations cases, things that involve property. There are certain cases that can only be done in Superior Court, like divorces. There are some things we share jurisdiction with, like medical malpractice or car wreck cases, but we do quite a few of those. Superior Court is a trial court. We are the ones who, either by sitting without a jury and making decisions based on the evidence ourselves, or with sitting with the jury, we make the decisions that then get possibly passed up to appellate courts.
Ms. Hise.
Everything he said is correct. Our jurisdiction in Superior Court is given by the Constitution and the legislature by statute. We also handle the equity part of cases as well. When you've got writ of mandamus and those kind of things, that's another component to the court system. But generally, in a nutshell, Judge Van Pelt covered it.
Ms. Hise, we'll begin with you with this question. What are the current qualifications to become a Superior Court judge in the state of Georgia?
There's an age requirement as well as a years of service requirement. I believe it's 7 years for the practice of law, and you do have to be a lawyer for this court. Other inferior courts, you don't necessarily have to be a lawyer to be a judge.
Judge?
That's basically it. There's a residence requirement. You have to have lived in the circuit. You have to have practiced law for 7 years. Other than that, there aren't any particular qualifications that there's constitutional and statutory requirements, but those are those. There are no requirements beyond those.
The current criminal justice system seems to be overwhelmed with a great number of drug cases and repeat offenders. As a Superior Court judge, what can you do going forward to help lower those numbers? Judge, we'll begin with you.
Well, I don't think we're overwhelmed here in Dade County. Judge House keeps an office here. He takes care of the day-to-day here. I think Dade County is current. We have a lot more other cases in Walker County and Catoosa County and Chattanooga County. Drug cases are something that are always going to be with us. People continue to get addicted. That's something that has to be dealt with. I am a big believer in treatment. If people can afford to go to treatment, either through insurance or maybe their family helping them, I want them to go get treatment if that's what they need. Now, we have state facilities called RSATs, Residential Substance Abuse Treatment Programs. I send people to those. Those are run by the state. Quite frankly, we don't have enough of them.
Ms. Hise?
I disagree with Judge Van Pelt. I think that our drug problem is overwhelming us by quite a lot, and I think that our governor and our legislature are also very well aware that this is an overwhelming problem. In that, the governor, when he came into office in his first term, put a council together to study and to do criminal justice reform. They have issued a report that goes into great detail about the different reforms that need to be made both in probation and in the court system in general. One of those things is the accountability courts that they are implementing throughout the state. Our circuit is one of the last ones to implement these accountability courts. We do have a drug court that's just been started by Judge Thompson, and that is going to address the drug issues. We also will be having a parental accountability court that Judge House will oversee, and I understand that a mental health court is coming hopefully in early 2019. I myself would like to see a veterans court started if I'm elected. But we are the 8th highest in probationers in the nation. Our recidivism rate is high, and I think that we need to do more in doing our sentencing and our supervision so that we are addressing individual problems instead of trying to do the same cookie cutter thing that we've been doing all this time, which is caused our taxes to be raised because we're incarcerating too many people and we're not really truly affecting the problem.
Listeners and viewers of WKWN were invited to be able to email in questions that they had for our candidates tonight. And one question that we received asked if you have any political affiliation with national organizations such as the ACLU or the NRA. Ms. Hise, will begin with you.
I don't have any national affiliations with any groups. I never really have, and then my tenure as a magistrate judge would have precluded me from that. So I don't have any affiliations.
Judge Van Pelt.
Well, the Code of Judicial Conduct has very strict things about that. You're not supposed to be affiliated with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. You're not supposed to be involved with an organization that may come in front of you or involved in litigation. A judge isn't supposed to get involved in one of those organizations. I am a member of the Chattanooga Hiking Club and the Benton-McKay Trail Association, and if that's bad, I apologize.
Do you believe the judgeships in Superior Court in Georgia should have term limits? Judge Van Pelt.
Appellate court judges have term limits. If you get past 75, they take away your retirement. The legislature's in charge of that. I agree with what some of the other people here said. There's this thing called elections that are term limits. The legislature statewide, the whole bunch, not just Mr. Deffenbaugh here, makes the statutes that control Superior Court judges. They would be the ones responsible for doing that. like I said, there's this thing called an election.
Mrs. Hise?
I think that's interesting that that's come up tonight, and I've listened to all the candidates on that, and I never thought of term limits for judges because we just don't think of it that way. You think you get into a judgeship and you remain until you retire, and it's kind of sort of set up that way. But I've been knocking on a lot of doors in 4 counties, and I've been hearing a lot about term limits. And that's, as Judge said, there's not anything that we personally can do about that as Superior Court judges or even as Supreme Court or Court of Appeals. That's a legislative issue. However, I'm thinking differently about term limits. I myself personally, as I said in my opening, I started an agency called 4 Points, and I left it after 15 years because I thought it was time for somebody else to come in and to take it to a new level and to do different things with it. It wasn't growing anymore. I wasn't growing anymore. So from that perspective, yes, I think that term limits are very healthy in a lot of ways. Elections can serve as term limits, I guess, but I'm not necessarily opposed to term limits for any office because of the idea that you need new people coming in with new ideas and fresher ideas to keep you moving and to keep you from getting stagnant.
Are you satisfied with the method used to select the chief judge of the circuit? If so, tell us why. And if not, likewise, tell us why. Ms. Hise?
As far as I know, that is a legislative by statute. It's based on tenure, is my understanding. And among our 4 judges, and I practice in other circuits too. I practice in a lot of other circuits around us. And it seems to have been effective to this point, so I don't really have a problem with that.
Judge Van Pelt?
Well, I got sued over this. I think most of the people in this room know about that. I think that most circuits, most metro circuits, most bigger circuits now elect chief judges. I think that's what it ought to be. There is a local act that was passed a long time ago, if we're talking about term limits, that put in place what we have now that I think should be modified.
As an attorney, what type of cases have you represented before the court? Judge Van Pelt?
I have done everything from, I have been a defense lawyer, I have been a prosecutor as an assistant DA and a DA, I've sat as a judge. I've done everything from jury trials on speeding tickets to jury trials in death penalty cases. I've done medical malpractice jury trials, I've done all other kind of civil stuff. Most of what I have done numbers-wise is non-jury things with domestic relations kind of cases or civil cases. I have the experience of doing very complicated litigation, I think more so than any other judge that's sitting on the bench right now in this particular circuit.
Ms. Hise?
I have primarily, the majority of my experience has been in family law, working in juvenile court, also doing divorces, modifications, child support, and adoptions. In my last couple of years, well, even at the beginning of my career and what I'm doing now, I've done both defense and personal and plaintiff work in personal injury, do real estate and do property. I do all kinds of other kinds of litigation. I do employment discrimination. One case I tried most recently, it was a whistleblower case under the state statute down in Bartow County, and got a sizable award for my client in a pretty uphill battle there. But basically every kind of case that we have, workers' comp, I've done Social Security, I've done a little bit of everything.
What makes you the better candidate for the superior judgeship? Ms. Hise?
I think what I kind of talked about a little bit earlier, I think that there comes a time when you need something different, you need some change, you need to think outside the box. My experience having ran a nonprofit may seem a little contrary to this job. However, with some of the changes that are coming out of Atlanta through the governor's office as well as the administrative office of courts with their accountability courts and where we're going with criminal justice reform, I think that I have the ability to help get these programs off the ground, to get them stable, to make sure that they're done correctly. I also have been working for people for the last 25 years of my career. I have been representing clients and working with families one-on-one this entire time, and I've made my campaign a very grassroots campaign, wanting to listen to people and hear what they're saying, and then applying those facts to the law. And that's really what it boils down to. A good judge can have the right temperament to apply the facts to the law, and I think I have that temperament and I have that prior experience working with people to be able to do it correctly.
Judge?
Well, I have spent the better part of my adult life in courtrooms. I was admitted to practicing law in 1980. I've defended people. I've done divorces. I've been through a divorce myself. I know what that's like. I have had the experience of being on all sides of any kind of litigation you can think of. I think I bring that life experience to all this, and I think I am fair. I think that every lawyer in this circuit knows I will sit and listen until you're done talking. And I will hear people out, and then I will make a decision based on the evidence and what the law is. And that's what you have to do, is base it on the law.
It's time for closing comments. You'll have 1 minute. Mrs. Hise, you're up first.
As I've been campaigning, I have been so struck by everyone that I have talked to about their concern for what goes on in our court system, the need for transparency, the need for fairness, the need for listening. And the one phrase that everybody hands out campaign things, and so I've been handing out copies of our Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And so what strikes me about this whole process is that this is we the people. This is your court system and your time to have your voice heard about what you want in your court system. And I'm asking you to look at my experience and to talk to me and to choose me on May 22nd. So thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Judge?
Well, let me tell a quick story. I was hiking in the Smokies once, fell in a creek and broke a kneecap, and was in a leg extender for 6 weeks. I didn't take a day off from work. I sat in a courtroom with my leg propped up, doing my job. I was here in court in Dade County this morning working. I'm here tonight humbly asking you to let me keep working for you. Thank you.
Thanks to each of you for being with us this evening. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll have the candidates for the Georgia State House of Representatives, District 1 seat, as Decision 2018 continues on KWN-TV.
Yes.